3 days after Admiral Im So-young's rescue fleet arrived, Emperor Zethmore made an announcement that shook the galaxy. He called together representatives from every species in the Empire for a meeting that would change everything. The Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime had never been used for anything like this. For 10,000 years, it had been where conquered species came to surrender. Today, it would be where an emperor asked for something no ruler had ever requested: partnership instead of submission. Captain Taman and his crew were invited to attend as honored guests. They sat in the front row, still wearing their simple blue uniforms, completely unaware that they had sparked a revolution. Emperor Zethmore entered the hall wearing not his intimidating ceremonial robes, but simple clothes that made him look like a diplomat rather than a conqueror. "Representatives of the Empire," he began, "I have called you here to make an unprecedented announcement. For 10,000 years we have ruled through fear. Today, that ends." A murmur went through the crowd. Some species looked excited. Others looked terrified. No one knew what to expect. "I have learned from our human guests that there is another way to build a civilization, not through conquest and fear, but through cooperation and respect." He gestured toward the human crew. "These beings come from a single world that learned to work together to solve their problems. They have shown me that when people choose to help instead of being forced to help, they can accomplish amazing things." Captain Taman whispered to Dr. Sujin. "Did he just say we taught him something?" "I think we did," Sujin whispered back. "Though I'm not sure what," Emperor Zethmore continued. "From this day forward, every species in this galaxy will have a choice. You can stay with us as equal partners working together for mutual benefit, or you can leave and build your own civilizations. Either choice will be respected." The hall erupted in shocked voices. Species representatives looked at each other in disbelief. Some had dreamed of freedom for centuries. Others had grown comfortable with imperial protection. "But Your Majesty," called out a representative from the water world of Aquarios, "how do we know this isn't a trap? How do we know you won't punish us if we choose to leave?" Emperor Zethmore smiled. "An excellent question. Captain Taman, would you answer that?" Taman looked surprised. "Me? I'm not sure what I should say. Just be honest. It's what you've always done." Taman stood up and looked around the vast hall full of alien beings. "Well," he said, "I guess the question is whether you trust the Emperor or not. In the time we've been here, he's been nothing but honest with us. He could have destroyed our ship, but he didn't. He could have imprisoned us, but he didn't. He treated us with respect even though we're strangers from far away." He paused, thinking. "On Earth we have a saying, actions speak louder than words. The Emperor's actions show that he means what he says." A representative from the industrial world of Mechanos stood up. "But what about defense? The Empire has protected us from raiders and pirates for centuries. Without Imperial fleets, how do we stay safe?" Commander Dahai stood up. "If I may," she said, "on Earth we learned that the best defense comes from friends helping friends. If all the species in the galaxy work together willingly, you'll be stronger than any empire built on fear." "But what if some species choose not to help?" asked another representative. "Then you help them anyway," said Dr. Yunji. "Eventually, most people want to be part of something good. But you can't force them to want it." As the discussion continued, something remarkable happened. Species that had been enemies for centuries began talking to each other. The reptilian Sixtra talked with the insect-like hive minds about sharing mining technology. The aquatic Aquarians discussed trade possibilities with the mountain-dwelling Stonekin. Engineer Jeho leaned over to Captain Taman. "Captain, I think we accidentally started something big." "Good big or bad big?" Taman asked. "I'm not sure yet, but definitely big." In the weeks that followed, the transformation of the Empire began. Not every species chose to stay. About 30% decided to leave and build their own civilizations, but they left as friends, not rebels. The species that stayed began working together in ways that had never been possible under the old system. Scientists shared research freely. Engineers collaborated on projects. Artists created works that combined the traditions of dozens of worlds. But not everyone was happy with the changes. General Kolthus had gathered a fleet of loyalist ships in the Outer Rim. He sent a message to Emperor Zethmore. "The old ways were strong. The new ways will make us weak. I will restore the Empire to its proper glory." "Your Majesty," Admiral Krixtal reported, "General Kolthus has 200 ships. They're moving toward the capital. Emperor Zethmore looked tired. I had hoped this wouldn't happen. Your Majesty, Captain Tamin said, you mentioned that if you needed help stopping a war, Earth would be glad to help. Captain, this isn't your fight. Sure it is, Tamin said. You're our friends now. Friends help each other. Admiral Imso Young stepped forward. Your Majesty, Earth's rescue fleet isn't much compared to 200 warships, but we'd be honored to stand with you. 12 ships against 200, the Emperor said. The odds are not good. The odds don't matter, said Princess Aerolin. What matters is that we're fighting for something worth defending. But when General Kolthus arrived at Nexus Prime, he found something unexpected. The Emperor's fleet had grown. Ships from dozens of species had come to defend the new alliance. The Aquarians brought their fast patrol ships. The Mechanos contributed their heavy industrial vessels. The Sixtra arrived with converted mining ships bristling with improvised weapons. Most surprising of all, many of General Kolthus's own ships switched sides when they saw the United Fleet. General, his communications officer reported, half our ships are asking to join the Alliance fleet. Kolthus stared at the tactical display. Instead of facing a weakened empire, he was facing something new. Dozens of species working together by choice instead of force. Captain Bayek Ji-hoon, commanding one of Earth's small ships, opened a communication channel to the general. General Kolthus, he said, you don't have to fight. There's room in this alliance for everyone who wants to build instead of destroy. I will not surrender to alien weaklings, Kolthus replied. Then you misunderstand what's happening here, said Emperor Zethmore, joining the communication. We're not asking you to surrender. We're asking you to help us build something better. The old empire was perfect, Kolthus shouted. If it was perfect, said Dr. Sujin from the Wanderer, why did so many species want to rebel against it? The question hung in space like a challenge. General Kolthus looked at his reduced fleet, then at the massive alliance arrayed against him. Ships from dozens of worlds all working together voluntarily. You offer me a place in this alliance? He asked finally. Of course, Emperor Zethmore said. You're a skilled military leader. We could use your experience to help defend species that can't defend themselves. Defend instead of conquer? Defend instead of conquer. General Kolthus was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. I will. Consider this offer. It took 3 more hours of discussion, but in the end, General Kolthus agreed to join the alliance. His military experience proved valuable in organizing defense fleets and training programs. 6 months later, Captain Tamin finally began his journey home to Earth. But now he wasn't alone. A small fleet of alien ships accompanied the Wanderer, carrying the first diplomatic mission from what was now called the Galactic Cooperative Alliance. Emperor Zethmore had decided to visit Earth personally. Your Majesty, Tamin said as they prepared for the hyperspace jump to Earth. Are you sure about this? Earth isn't very impressive compared to your empire. I mean your alliance, Captain? The Emperor said with a smile. I want to see the world that produced beings who looked at the mightiest empire in the galaxy and saw only friends they hadn't met yet. Dr. Sujin, who was beside herself with excitement about all the new science she would be able to share with Earth, looked up from her research. Your Majesty, I still don't understand how we changed anything. We just acted normal. Dr. Sujin, Princess Aerolin said. That's exactly the point. Your normal was completely different from our normal. You showed us that normal didn't have to include fear and submission. As the fleet jumped to hyperspace heading toward Earth, Captain Tamin made his final log entry about the mission. Mission report, first contact with alien civilization successful. Met local government representatives. Very friendly people. Established diplomatic relations. Accidentally helped transform 10,000-year-old galactic empire into cooperative alliance. Recommend increased coffee supplies for future diplomatic missions. Also recommend larger ships if we're going to keep having galactic emperors visit Earth for dinner. He paused, then added, Note, humanity's greatest strength may be our complete inability to be impressed by impressive things. Recommend we keep this trait. When the fleet arrived at Earth 3 weeks later, the planet's leaders were somewhat surprised to find that their lost exploration ship had returned with an alien emperor, a princess, several admirals, dozens of scientists, and representatives from over 100 species. Captain Bayek Ji-hoon had been flying through space for 2 months. following the trail of the lost ship Wanderer. As captain of the Earth rescue vessel Horizon, he commanded a small fleet of 12 ships, everything Earth could spare for the rescue mission. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we're picking up massive energy readings ahead. There's a huge fleet of alien ships." "How many?" Jihoon asked. "Over 500, sir. And they're all much larger than our ships." Admiral Im So-young, commander of the rescue fleet, studied the sensor readings from her flagship. She was Earth's most experienced military officer, but she had never seen anything like this. "Captain Bayek," she said over the communication system, "we're going in. If the Wanderer is in there, we're getting them out." "Yes, Admiral," Jihoon replied. "All ships prepare for contact." The 12 Earth ships moved toward the massive alien fleet. They were tiny compared to the Imperial warships, like minnows swimming toward whales on Nexus Prime. Alarms began ringing throughout the Imperial command centers. "Your Majesty," General Kolthus reported to Emperor Zethmor, 12 more human ships have arrived. "They're approaching our fleet. 12 ships against 500, the Emperor mused. "Either they're incredibly brave or they know something we don't." "Your Majesty, we should destroy them now," Kolthus urged, "before they can reveal their true strength." Emperor Zethmor looked at the tactical display showing the tiny Earth ships approaching his massive fleet. "General, does this look like an attack formation to you?" "No, Your Majesty. It looks like a rescue mission, exactly. They've come for their friends. Contact Admiral Kriegstall. Tell him to let the human ships approach but maintain alert status." On the Wanderer, Captain Taemin received an unexpected communication. "Captain Taemin, this is Admiral Im So-young of the Earth Rescue Fleet. We're here to get you home." Taemin's face lit up with relief. "Admiral Im, you're a sight for sore eyes. We're all fine here, but we're definitely ready to come home." "What's your status, Captain? Are you prisoners?" "Not exactly prisoners," Taemin said. "More like guests. The locals have been quite hospitable, actually. We've been having some interesting conversations." Admiral Im So-young stared at her communication screen. After 2 months of racing across the galaxy, expecting to find her people either dead or imprisoned, Taemin sounded like he'd been on vacation. "Captain, our sensors show over 500 alien warships surrounding you." "Yes, that's the local government," Taemin said casually. "They wanted to make sure we were safe while we visited." The Admiral looked at her officers, who all seemed as confused as she was. "Captain, are you under duress? Are they forcing you to say this?" "No, Admiral. We're fine. Actually, we've learned quite a lot about their technology. Dr. Su Jin is very excited about some new physics theories." At that moment, Emperor Zethmor's face appeared on the Wanderer's main screen. "Captain Taemin," the Emperor said, "it appears your friends have come for you." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Would you like to meet them?" "Admiral Im is a very interesting person. She's fought in 3 wars and helped negotiate 2 peace treaties." The Emperor paused. "You would introduce me to your military commander?" "Of course. You've been very kind to us. It's only polite." Within an hour, Admiral Im So-young found herself aboard the Wanderer, sitting across from Emperor Zethmor. She had prepared for many possibilities during her journey to find the lost ship, but having tea with an alien emperor wasn't one of them. "Your Majesty," she said carefully, "I want to thank you for taking care of my people. They have been educational," the Emperor replied. "Your Captain Taemin and his crew have given me much to think about. I hope they haven't caused any trouble. On the contrary, they have caused nothing but trouble, but it is the kind of trouble that makes one question everything they thought they knew." Admiral Im looked at Captain Taemin, who shrugged. "We just answered their questions honestly, Admiral." "And that was trouble?" Im asked the Emperor. "Admiral Im," the Emperor said, "in 8,000 years of rule, no one has ever suggested that my military formations could be improved. No one has ever offered to share technology with me. No one has ever treated me like an ordinary person they might have a friendly conversation with. And that's bad. It's terrifying," the Emperor said with a slight smile. "Your people have shown me that there might be a better way to run an empire than through fear." While this conversation was taking place, something else was happening in the outer regions of the Empire. News of the fearless humans had spread from system to system, and it was having an unexpected effect. On the mining world of Kepler-7, the reptilian Sixtra workers had heard the stories. For 300 years, they had submitted to imperial rule because they feared the consequences of rebellion. The humans show no fear of the Imperial fleet, whispered Sixtra Mine Supervisor Telrak to his workers. If they can stand as equals to the Empire, perhaps we can too. But the humans have advanced technology, another worker said. We have only mining equipment. The humans have something more important than technology, Telrak replied. They have courage. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. Species that had been conquered centuries ago began to remember what it felt like to have pride. Back on Nexus Prime, Spy Master Velkar brought disturbing news to the Imperial Council. Your Majesty, he reported, we have 15 active rebellions in the outer systems. They're all saying the same thing. If humans can be equals to the Empire, so can they. General Kolthus stood up angrily. You see, these humans are destroying our Empire just by existing. We must eliminate them now. General, Emperor Zethmore said quietly, if our Empire can be destroyed by the example of 12 people being polite, perhaps our Empire deserves to be destroyed. Your Majesty. Sit down, General. I have made a decision. The Emperor stood and looked out at his vast capital city, where millions of beings from hundreds of species lived and worked under Imperial rule. For 10,000 years we have ruled through fear. We conquered species and forced them to obey us. We built the greatest empire in galactic history this way. Yes, Your Majesty, Kolthus said proudly. But what have we really built, General? A galaxy full of resentful slaves who obey us only because they're afraid? Species that contribute to our empire only because they have no choice? They contribute efficiently, Your Majesty. But imagine how much more they could contribute if they wanted to help instead of being forced to help. Princess Arilyn stepped forward. Father, are you saying what I think you're saying? Emperor Zethmore nodded. I am going to try the human approach. Instead of ruling through fear, we will try ruling through respect. The council chamber fell silent. High Counselor Methvar was the first to speak. Your Majesty, such a change would be unprecedented. Yes, it would also be extremely dangerous. Many species might try to leave the Empire. Others might challenge our authority. We could lose everything. Then why risk it? Asked Methvar Emperor. Zethmore looked at the tactical display showing the 12 tiny human ships surrounded by his massive fleet. Because 12 humans from one small world looked at the mightiest empire in the galaxy and saw not something to fear, but something to respect. If we can earn that kind of respect from strangers, perhaps we can earn it from our own people. General Kolthus stepped forward. Your Majesty, I cannot support this decision. It goes against everything we have built. I know, General. And I know many others will feel the same way. But I have made my choice. Then I will make mine, Kolthus said. If you will not protect this empire, I will. The general turned and walked out of the council chamber. Everyone knew what this meant. Civil war was coming to the empire. But on the Wanderer, Captain Taymian was unaware of the political chaos his simple honesty had caused. He was just happy to see Admiral Im and looking forward to going home. Your Majesty, he said to Emperor Zethmore, we should probably head back to Earth soon, but if you ever want to visit, you'd be very welcome. The Emperor smiled sadly. Captain Tayman, you may have just started a war without knowing it. A war? Tayman looked shocked. Why would anyone want to start a war? Because some people prefer the old ways even when the old ways don't work very well. Well, Tayman said thoughtfully, if you ever need help stopping a war, Earth would be glad to help. We're pretty good at talking people out of fighting. Emperor Zethmore looked at this remarkable human who offered to help stop a galactic civil war as casually as he might offer to help fix a broken machine. Captain, the Emperor said, I may take you up on that offer. Emperor Zethmore returned to his palace that evening with his mind spinning. In 12,000 years of existence, nothing had prepared him for the humans. He called an emergency meeting of his highest advisors. They are the most dangerous beings we have ever encountered, he announced to the assembled council. Dangerous, Your Majesty? Asked High Counselor Methvar. They seem quite harmless. That is exactly what makes them dangerous, the Emperor said. They looked at me who has ruled this galaxy for 8,000 years, and saw just another person to have a conversation with. General Kolthus slammed his 6 fists on the table. Your Majesty, we should destroy them before they can call their fleet. What fleet? The Emperor asked. After spending a day with them, I am beginning to think they told us the truth. They really are just explorers from one small world. Impossible, said Spymaster Velkar. No single world could produce beings with such confidence. Perhaps that is exactly why they are so confident, the Emperor said quietly. Princess Aralyn, the Emperor's daughter and heir, had been silent during the discussion. She was young, only 300 years old, and had spent her life studying the different species of the Empire. Father, she said, may I ask what you mean? The Emperor looked at his daughter. She was intelligent and curious, much like the human scientist Dr. Sujin. Think about it, my daughter. We rule by fear. Every species in our empire obeys us because they are afraid of what we will do if they resist. But fear only works if someone believes you will hurt them. And the humans don't believe we will hurt them, Aralyn said, understanding. Exactly. They look at our greatest weapons and see interesting technology. They look at our massive fleet and see impressive engineering. They look at me and see someone to have a polite conversation with. But why aren't they afraid? Methavar asked. The Emperor was quiet for a moment, thinking about his conversations with Captain Taman and his crew. Because, he said finally, they come from a world where everyone had to learn to live together. They solved their problems by working together, not by making others afraid. The next morning, Princess Aralyn requested permission to visit the human ship. She was curious about these beings who had so puzzled her father. Of course, Your Highness, Captain Taman said when she arrived. Would you like a tour? Aralyn had expected to be greeted with ceremony and formal protocols. Instead, Dr. Yunji simply showed her around the ship like she was a visiting friend. This is our laboratory, Yunji said. I study different forms of life. Your empire has so many interesting species. How do you manage to keep them all working together? We use fear, Aralyn said, surprised by the direct question. Fear? Yunji looked confused. That seems like it would make cooperation very difficult. On Earth, we found that people work better when they trust each other. But how do you maintain order without fear? Well, we have laws and rules, of course, but mostly people follow them because they make sense and they help everyone. In the engine room, Princess Aralyn met Engineer Jeho, who was working on improving their hyperspace drive. Your Highness, he said, wiping his hands on a rag. I've been thinking about your empire's technology. You have some amazing achievements, but I bet you could do even more if your different species shared their knowledge more freely. They do share knowledge, Aralyn said, when we require it. But what about when they want to share it? Jeho asked. Some species might have ideas that could help others, but they might be afraid to suggest them. Aralyn had never thought about this before. In the Empire, lower species didn't offer suggestions to higher species. They waited to be asked. What kind of suggestions? She asked. Well, from what I can see, your shipbuilders are very good at making things strong. But the species from the water worlds might know how to make things more flexible. And the species from high-gravity worlds probably know about efficient energy use. If they all work together, the ships would be stronger, more flexible, and more efficient, Aralyn finished. Exactly. Cooperation makes everyone better. In the ship's small library, Princess Aralyn found Commander Dahai reading a book about military history. Your Highness, Dahai said, looking up. I hope you don't mind me asking, but how do you handle rebellions in your empire? We crush them, Aralyn said automatically. But that just makes more rebellions, doesn't it? Dahai asked. When you crush people, they get angry. When people get angry, they rebel. Then we crush them again. But wouldn't it be easier to find out why they're rebelling and fix the problem? Aralyn stared at her. You would negotiate with rebels? Of course. Most people don't rebel because they're evil. They rebel because they have a problem that needs to be solved. What if they're wrong about the problem? Then you explain why they're wrong. If your explanation makes sense, most reasonable people will listen. And if they're right about the problem, then you fix it. That way everyone wins. Princess Aralyn spent the whole day on the human ship talking with each crew member. By the evening, her head was full of new ideas. When she returned to the palace, she went straight to her father's chambers. Father, she said, I think I understand why the humans aren't afraid of us. Tell me. They come from a world where problems are solved through cooperation and communication. When they see a powerful empire like ours, they don't think these people will hurt me. They think these people must be very good at solving problems. Emperor Zethmore nodded slowly. And when we threaten them, they think we're just being dramatic. like we're exaggerating to make a point. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Daughter, what would happen if we tried to rule the Empire the way humans run their world? I don't know, Father, but I think it might work better than what we're doing now. Even if it worked better, it would be completely different. The Empire has used fear for 10,000 years. Maybe it's time for something different, Erlin said. That night, Emperor Zethmore couldn't sleep. He walked through his palace thinking about his conversation with Princess Erlin. The Empire was vast and powerful, but it was held together by fear. Every species obeyed because they were afraid of punishment. But fear made people resentful. Resentful people caused problems. Problems required more fear to solve. It was an endless cycle. The humans offered a different way, not through fear but through respect. Not through threats but through cooperation. But could it work on such a large scale? Could an empire of hundreds of species really work together peacefully? The Emperor thought about Captain Taemin, who had treated him like an equal. Dr. Sujin, who had shared her knowledge freely. Engineer Jeho, who had offered to help improve Imperial technology. These humans had no reason to trust the Empire. They were surrounded by warships far from home, completely at the mercy of alien rulers, yet they had been nothing but helpful and friendly. If they could show such trust to strangers, perhaps different species could learn to trust each other. But it would mean changing everything. The Empire would have to abandon 10,000 years of tradition. Many of his advisors would resist. General Kolthus would probably try to overthrow him. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, Emperor Zethmore made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. He would try the human way. But first, he needed to make sure these remarkable humans survived long enough to see what their example had accomplished. In the depths of the palace, Spymaster Velkar was receiving reports from across the Empire. Several rebellions had started in the outer systems. The rebels all said the same thing. If humans can stand equal to the Empire, so can we. The humans had no idea that their simple refusal to be intimidated was already starting a revolution, and they had no idea that the most powerful ruler in the galaxy was about to bet everything on the hope that their way of doing things might actually work. Deep in the underground command center of Nexus Prime, Emperor Zethmore sat on his crystal throne and listened to the reports. He had lived for 12,000 years and ruled the galaxy for 8,000 of them. In all that time, he had never heard reports like these. The humans show no fear, Your Majesty, said Spy Master Velkar, a creature that looked like a walking shadow. Our entire fleet surrounds their tiny ship, yet they act as if they are visiting friends. What have you learned about their empire? The Emperor asked. Nothing, Your Majesty. We have searched every database, contacted every spy network, scanned every star system in a 1,000 light-year radius. There is no trace of a human civilization anywhere. Emperor Zethmore's golden eyes narrowed. In his long life, he had conquered over 300 species. Every single one had either surrendered immediately when they saw his fleet, or fought desperately before being destroyed. None had ever acted like the humans. They must have cloaking technology beyond our understanding, he said. Their entire empire could be hidden from our sensors. That is what we think too, Your Majesty, Velkar said. But if they can hide whole planets from us, their technology is far more advanced than ours. On the space station above, the crew of the Wanderer continued their normal daily routine, completely unaware that they were causing panic throughout the Empire. Sergeant Oh Hyun-woo, the ship's security chief, was doing his morning exercises in the small gym. He lifted weights, ran on the treadmill, and practiced martial arts forms. Through the gym's window, alien observers watched every move. Look how he trains, whispered one alien observer to another. He prepares his body for combat even while surrounded by our fleet. And see the discipline in his movements, said the other. This is not random exercise. This is warrior training. What they didn't know was that Hyun-woo exercised every day because he was bored. There wasn't much for a security officer to do on an exploration ship. In the ship's laboratory, Dr. Nam Yoonji was examining samples of alien food that had been delivered to them. She put each sample under her microscope and made notes in her computer. Fascinating cellular structure, she said to herself. I wonder if this species evolved from plant-based organisms or animal-based ones. The alien food suppliers watching through hidden cameras were terrified. They thought she was analyzing the food for weaknesses, perhaps developing biological weapons that could destroy entire species. But Yunji was just curious. As the ship's xenobiologist, she wanted to understand how life developed on different worlds. To her, every new species was an exciting puzzle to solve. Captain Taemin spent his morning writing in his captain's log and reading reports from his crew. To the aliens monitoring him, this looked like a military commander studying intelligence reports and planning strategy. "Sir," Lieutenant Minho said, bringing him a cup of coffee, "I've been listening to their communications all night. I think they're scared of us." "Scared?" Taemin said. "Why would they be scared? We're just one small ship." "I think that's exactly why they're scared," Minho said. "They can't figure out why we're not scared of them." Dr. Sujin came into the captain's quarters carrying her tablet computer. "Captain, I've been analyzing the energy readings from their space station. They're using some very interesting power generation methods. I'd love to ask them about it." "Go ahead," Taemin said. "We're supposed to meet their emperor today anyway. Maybe you can ask him." Sujin's eyes lit up. "Really, that would be wonderful. I have so many questions about their technology." What none of them realized was that their casual attitude toward meeting the emperor was causing chaos throughout the imperial government. In the Empire's war room, General Kolthus paced back and forth like a caged animal. He was a massive creature with thick armor-like skin and 6 arms. He had led the imperial armies for 2,000 years and had never met an enemy he couldn't defeat. "We should attack now," he growled to the other generals, "before they can call for reinforcements." "What if their hidden fleet is already nearby?" asked another general. "What if this is a trap?" "Everything about these humans is wrong," Kolthus said. "They analyze our technology. They show no respect for our power. They act like they could destroy us whenever they want." "Maybe they can," whispered a third general. Meanwhile, Emperor Zethmore prepared for the most important meeting of his 8,000-year reign. He put on his most magnificent robes, covered himself with ancient jewels that had been taken from conquered worlds, and surrounded himself with his most intimidating guards. When he was ready, he looked like a god of war. Every species in the galaxy trembled when they saw him in his full imperial glory. But when he stepped onto the Wanderer, he was greeted by Captain Taemin wearing his normal blue uniform, holding a cup of coffee. "Your Majesty," Taemin said with a small bow, "welcome aboard our ship." "I'm Captain Lee Taemin. Would you like some coffee? It's fresh." Behind the Emperor, his guards tensed. No one had ever offered the Emperor a beverage before. No one had ever spoken to him so casually. "I do not drink." "Coffee?" the Emperor said slowly. "Tea, maybe? We have some green tea from Earth. It's very good." Emperor Zethmore stared at this human who showed no fear, no awe, no recognition of his cosmic power. After 8,000 years of absolute rule, he was face to face with someone who treated him like a normal person. "I would like to see your ship," the Emperor said finally. "Of course," Taemin said. "It's not very big, but we're proud of it. Sujin, would you show His Majesty the engine room?" Dr. Sujin appeared immediately, her face bright with excitement. "Your Majesty, I'm so glad you're here. I have so many questions about your technology. Your power distribution systems are incredible." She led the Emperor down the narrow corridor, chattering happily about energy frequencies and quantum mechanics. The Emperor, who was used to silence and reverence in his presence, didn't know how to respond. "This is our engine room," Sujin said, opening a door. "It's small but efficient. Our hyperspace drive is based on quantum field manipulation." "How do your drives work?" "You wish to know about our military technology?" the Emperor asked. "Oh, is it military?" Sujin said. "I just think of it as transportation technology. Science is science, right?" Engineer Jae-ho looked up from his work. "Your Majesty, good to meet you. I was just fixing our coffee machine. Dr. Sujin is right about your technology. Very impressive. Though I bet we could help you improve the efficiency of your older ships." The Emperor's golden eyes widened. "You would help us?" "Sure," Jae-ho said. "Good engineering helps everyone. When technology improves, everyone benefits." Commander Dae-hai appeared next, carrying a book. "Your Majesty, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but your fleet formation outside has a few weak spots. If you move the heavy cruisers to positions 7 and 12, it would be much more effective." "You analyze our military defenses and offer improvements?" the Emperor asked, his voice getting higher. "Just being friendly," Dae-hai said with a smile. I'm sure your admirals know what they're doing. I was just curious about your tactical thinking. Cook Lee Sang-ho came out of the kitchen carrying a tray of food.
Your Majesty, I made some snacks.
I wasn't sure what you like to eat, so I made a variety. Please try something. The Emperor looked at the food. In 12,000 years of life, no one had ever cooked for him personally. His food was always prepared by teams of professional chefs who spent weeks planning each meal. You made this for me? He asked. Of course, Sang-ho said. You're our guest. It's only polite. As the Emperor toured the small ship meeting each crew member, something strange happened to him. For the first time in 8,000 years, he felt like a normal person instead of a godlike ruler. These humans didn't fear him. They didn't worship him. They didn't try to impress him. They just treated him with simple, honest politeness. When the tour was over, the Emperor sat in the ship's small meeting room with Captain Taemin. I do not understand you, the Emperor said finally. What don't you understand, Your Majesty? You see my fleet. You know my power. Yet you show no fear. You offer me food and drink. You suggest improvements to my military. You treat me as if I were ordinary. Taemin thought about this. Your Majesty, you seem like a reasonable person. You haven't hurt us. You've been polite and fair. Why should we be afraid of reasonable people? Because I could destroy your world with a single command. Could you? Taemin asked. I mean, you could probably destroy our ship, but Earth is very far away, and destroying things doesn't seem like your style. How do you know what my style is? Well, you rule hundreds of worlds, right? If you just destroyed everything, there wouldn't be anything left to rule. You must be pretty good at working with different species. The Emperor sat in silence for a long time. This human was right. He ruled by fear, but he ruled. He had built the greatest empire in galactic history, not by destroying everything, but by making other species believe he would destroy them if they resisted. But these humans didn't seem to believe he would destroy them. They acted as if destruction wasn't even a possibility they considered. What do you want from my empire? The Emperor asked, honestly. Just directions home, Taemin said. We got lost. If you could point us toward Earth, we'll get out of your space and not bother you anymore. That's all? The Wanderer flew through space for 3 days, surrounded by alien warships. Captain Taemin and his crew had settled into their normal routine. They ate meals, did their work, and slept. The aliens watched everything they did. On the 4th day, they reached a huge planet covered in metal cities. This was Nexus Prime, the capital of the Vorthak Empire. Space stations bigger than Earth's moon floated around it. Millions of ships moved between them like busy insects. Impressive, said Dr. Su Jin as she looked at the planet through her telescope. Their technology is very advanced. I'd love to see how their power systems work. Admiral Crixtall appeared on their screen again. You will dock with Station 7. High Counselor Methvar will meet with you there. Thank you, Captain Taemin said. Is there somewhere we can get food? We're running low on supplies. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked several times. Food will be provided. Do not leave your ship until you are told to. No problem, Taemin said. We'll wait. The Wanderer docked with the space station. It was so big that their ship looked like a toy next to it. Through the windows, they could see thousands of aliens walking around inside the station. They all looked different. Some had scales, some had fur, some looked like giant insects. Look at all those different species, said Commander Daehai. This empire must control hundreds of worlds. Lieutenant Choi Minho was listening to alien radio transmissions. Captain, I think they're all talking about us. I can't understand their languages, but I keep hearing the word human in their conversations. Are they saying good things or bad things? Taemin asked. I can't tell, but they sound worried. An hour later, the space station's airlock opened. A group of aliens entered the Wanderer. The first one was tall and thin with purple skin and 3 arms. Behind him came several shorter aliens with big heads and small bodies. I am High Counselor Methvar, the purple alien said. His voice was deep and seemed to echo. I am 5,000 years old and have served this empire for 3,000 of those years. I have met representatives from over 200 species. You are the first to puzzle me. Nice to meet you, Counselor, Taemin said, standing up and offering his hand. I'm Captain Lee Taemin. These are my officers. Methvar looked at Taemin's offered hand but did not take it. None of the alien species he knew touched hands with their rulers. You will address me as High Counselor, Methvar said. Sure, High Counselor, Taemin said, not sounding bothered. Would you like to sit down? We can offer you some tea. Dr. Sujin stepped forward. Hi, Counselor. I've been studying your technology from what we can see through our sensors. Your energy distribution systems are fascinating. How do you prevent quantum decay in your power conduits? Methvar's three eyes widened. You studied our technology? Just the basics, Sujin said. I hope that's okay. I'm a scientist. I study everything. Your FTL drives use a completely different principle than ours. Very clever. One of the smaller aliens whispered something in Methvar's ear. Dr. Velkrian says your analysis of our power systems is correct. Methvar said slowly. How did you determine this from just sensor readings? Oh, it's not that hard once you understand the basic physics, Sujin said. Though I notice you're using inefficient energy loops in sectors 7 through 12. You could improve efficiency by about 15% if you're criticizing our technology? Methvar interrupted. Not criticizing, Sujin said. Just making suggestions. We all learn from each other, right? Engineer Jeho joined the conversation. Your ships are built very strong, but they're heavier than they need to be. If you use different materials, you could make them faster and use less fuel. Methvar looked at his assistants. They all looked confused. You study our military technology and suggest improvements? He asked. Sure, Jeho said. Good engineering is good engineering. Doesn't matter who builds it. Commander Dahai was looking out the window at the warships around them. Those are nice weapons on your ships. Very powerful, though I notice your firing positions are a bit predictable. In a real battle, enemy ships could use that against you. You analyze our military capabilities? Methvar asked, his voice getting louder. Just curious, Dahai said with a smile. I'm a military officer. I notice these things. But your shields are excellent. Much better than anything we have. Methvar turned to his assistants and spoke rapidly in his own language. The small aliens looked excited and scared at the same time. Hi, Counselor, Taman said. Is everything okay? You look upset. Upset, Methvar said. You arrive in our space with unknown technology. You show no fear of our fleet. You analyze our defenses and suggest improvements. And you ask if I'm upset? Well, when you put it like that, I guess it does sound a bit rude, Taman said. We're just curious about new things. We didn't mean any harm. Where is your empire? Methvar demanded. What worlds do you control? How many ships do you have? We told Admiral Krixtel already, Taman said. We have one world, Earth. We have a few hundred ships, but most of them stay close to home. This is our first trip to another star. Impossible, Methvar said. No single world could develop such advanced technology. Actually, it makes sense, Sujin said. When you only have one world, you have to be very careful with it. That makes you work harder to solve problems. And when everyone lives on the same world, you have to learn to get along. Dahai added, Fighting wastes resources. Methvar's assistants whispered to each other frantically. One of them approached the High Counselor and spoke quietly in his ear. Dr. Velkrian reminds me that in 3,000 years of expansion, we have never encountered a species that was not immediately terrified by our fleet, Methvar said. Yet you treat us as if we were neighbors, aren't you? Taman asked. I mean, we're neighbors now, right? We're in the same part of space. You show no fear, Methvar said. Should we? Taman asked. You haven't threatened to hurt us. Well, Admiral Krixtel did, but that seemed like just standard procedure. Lieutenant Minho, who had been quietly listening to alien communications, spoke up. Captain, I'm picking up a lot of chatter from the fleet. I think they're trying to figure out where our main battle group is hiding. Our what? Taman asked. They think this ship is just a scout, Minho said. They're looking for our real military force. Taman turned to Methvar. High Counselor, I think there's been a misunderstanding. This isn't a military mission. We're explorers, scientists. We got lost and ended up here by accident. By accident? Methvar repeated slowly. Yes. Our first hyperspace jump went wrong. We were supposed to go 4 light years. Instead, we went 50,000 light years. Methvar stared at him for a long time. Then he spoke to his assistants again. They had a long discussion in their alien language. Finally, Methvar turned back to the humans. The Emperor wants to meet you. The Emperor? Taman said. That sounds important. Emperor Zethmor has ruled this galaxy for 8,000 years, Methvar said. He has never met with unknown aliens personally. He sees all new species only after they have surrendered and been processed. And he wants to meet us? Sujin asked. Yes, tomorrow. This is unprecedented. Well, that's nice of him, Taman said. Should we bring anything? A gift, maybe? Methavar's mouth fell open. No one had ever offered to bring the Emperor a gift, just bring yourselves, he said weakly. After the aliens left, the human crew gathered in their small meeting room. I think we confused them, Dahai said. How? Taemin asked. They're used to people being scared of them, Sujin explained. But we're not scared. We're just curious. That's not normal for them. So what should we do when we meet their Emperor? Jeho asked. The same thing we always do, Taemin said. Be polite, be honest, and try to make friends. Outside their ship, the massive Vorthak fleet continued its watch. In the command centers of hundreds of warships, alien officers tried to understand these strange humans who looked at the mightiest empire in the galaxy and saw only interesting neighbors. None of them realized that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or military might. It was something much simpler and much more dangerous to an empire built on fear. They simply refused to be intimidated. Captain Lee Taemin sat in his chair and watched the stars through the big window of his ship. The UES Wanderer was not a big ship, but it was special. It was the first human ship that could jump faster than light. Today was the day they would test it for the first time. Captain, we are ready for the jump, said Dr. Park Soo-jin from her computer. She was the smartest person on the ship and knew everything about how the jump drive worked. Her fingers moved fast on the keyboard as she checked the numbers one more time. Good, Taemin said. He was not worried. He had been flying ships in space for 20 years. Where are we going? Just to the next star system, Soo-jin said. It should take us 30 minutes to get there instead of 50 years. Engineer Kim Jae-ho looked up from his controls. The drive is working perfectly, Captain. All the power levels look good. Commander Yoon Da-hee stood next to Taemin's chair. She was the military officer on the ship, but there was no fighting in space anymore. Her job was to keep everyone safe. All crew members are ready, Captain. Taemin nodded. Start the jump. Soo-jin pressed a big red button. The ship made a loud humming sound. The lights got brighter. Then everything went white. When the white light was gone, Taemin looked out the window again. But something was wrong. There were too many stars, and they were the wrong color. Soo-jin, he said slowly. Where are we? Soo-jin looked at her computer screen. Her face went white. Captain, I think we have a problem. What kind of problem? We jumped too far. Much too far. We are not in the next star system. We are... I don't know where we are. Jae-ho checked his instruments. The jump drive worked too well. It sent us 50,000 light years from Earth. Dahai looked out the window. Captain, look at that. Taemin turned to see what she was pointing at. There was a huge space station in front of them. It was bigger than any city on Earth, and around it were hundreds of ships. Big ships, very big ships. Those are warships, Dahai said, and they are coming toward us. The communication system made a beeping sound. Someone wanted to talk to them. Should I answer it? Asked Lieutenant Choi Min-ho, who worked the communications. Yes, Taemin said. Let's see who wants to talk. The big screen in front of them turned on. A strange face appeared. It had 4 eyes and skin like a snake. When it talked, its voice was very deep and scary. Unknown ship, the alien said. You have entered the space of the great Vorthak Empire. You will surrender now or be destroyed. The crew of the Wanderer looked at each other. They had never seen an alien before. But Taemin did not look scared. Hello, he said to the screen. I am Captain Lee Taemin of the Earthship Wanderer. We seem to be lost. Could you help us? The alien's 4 eyes got bigger. Did you not hear me? I said surrender or be destroyed. Yes, I heard you, Taemin said. But first, could you show us some identification? We need to know who you are before we can talk business. Soo-jin put her hand over her mouth to stop herself from laughing. Jae-ho shook his head. Dahi smiled a little. The alien looked confused. No one had ever asked him for identification before. I am Admiral Krixtall of the Imperial Fleet, he said, and you will surrender now. Nice to meet you, Admiral, Taemin said. But we are just explorers. We got lost during our first space jump. We don't want any trouble. We just want to go home. Home? Admiral Krixtall said. Where is your home? What empire do you serve? We're from Earth, Taemin said. It's a small planet. We don't have an empire. We just have one world. More alien faces appeared on the screen. They were all talking to each other in their own language. They looked worried. One world? Admiral Krixtall said. Impossible. Your ship has technology we have never seen. You must have a great empire. No, Taemin said. Just Earth. Look, we really don't want any trouble. Could you just point us toward home? We'll get out of your space. The aliens talked to each other more. They looked very confused. You cannot leave, Admiral Crystal said. You will come with us to meet the High Council. They will decide what to do with you. That's fine, Taemin said. But do you have any coffee? It's been a long day. The alien's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Sujin leaned over to Taemin. Captain, I think we surprised them. Why? Taemin asked. Look around us, Dahai said. There are 500 warships out there. Each one could destroy our little ship. Most people would be very scared right now. Taemin looked out the window at all the big ships. Oh, he said. I guess that is a lot of ships, but they seem friendly enough. Jae-ho laughed. Captain, I think friendly is not the right word. You will follow our ships to the capital world, Admiral Crystal said. Do not try to escape or we will destroy you. We won't try to escape, Taemin said. We don't know where we are anyway. Lead the way. The screen went black. The alien ships began to move. The Wanderer followed them. Captain, Sujin said quietly, I don't think they know what to do with us. What do you mean? They expected us to be scared. When someone points a gun at you, you should be scared. But we're not scared. We're just confused. That makes them confused too. Taemin thought about this. So what should we do? Just be ourselves, Dahai said. We're explorers, not warriors. We'll be polite and friendly and see what happens. Sounds like a plan, Taemin said. Minho, send a message to Earth. Tell them we're going to be late for dinner. As the Wanderer flew deeper into alien space, surrounded by hundreds of warships, the crew went back to their normal work. Sujin studied the alien technology. Jae-ho fixed a broken coffee machine. Dahai read a book. Taemin wrote in his captain's log. None of them knew they had just scared the most powerful empire in the galaxy, simply by not being afraid.